are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you. For those joining us, I'm here with Sarah Barnes. She is our family support partner on the High Fidelity Wraparound team, or also known as WRAP. Thanks for joining me today, Sarah.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
For sure, for sure. So, what we wanted to do today, thanks again, we are here to discuss a couple of things. One of the biggest things we wanted to really chat about was the importance of mental health, and of course, the kind of the work that Thompson does as respects mental health with our clients. Of course, Thompson has a very long legacy of addressing, all kinds of needs for our clients, but mental health has always been part of it, and it's becoming more and more part of it recently. So, from the standpoint of, I know you've got quite a bit of lived experience, Sarah, and I know on the rap side, you could probably speak to the high fidelity wraparound, program as well. When you contextualize mental health therapy and why that's important, what are some thoughts that you have?
Well, thank you again for having me. And like you said, I do have I'm the family support partner with the RAP team. And within that, what that means is I have lived experience and that quickly I adopted two kids from foster care who have mental health challenges. And so when you ask me why it's important, I live it every day and I it's so personal to me because I know without therapies, without the services that Thompson provides, we would be a very different home. A very non-technical way to describe my house would be it would be a very big hot mess without certain therapies that we've reached into. And so it's important. It's getting help. It's reaching out and getting help. And it's yes, it's so important.
So I know that there's a wide range of people who watch these videos, and maybe some people don't have the lived experience that you do. So, like for instance, you mentioned that you've got two at home that have lived experience and that contribute to your lived experience, but maybe everybody else doesn't. So I hear you loud and clear when you say that if you didn't have the structure of this therapy, the structure of this environment, the safe space where these issues can be addressed, and can be, through therapy, improved even, that might be more of a hot mess for you. So can you give us a little bit of perspective in terms of, like, for a first timer, right? Somebody who comes to Thompson, somebody who comes to maybe bring their child to Thompson, and we know that there's a need for mental health therapy, as there is for a wide segment of the population. um, what if that person has never experienced mental health treatment before, therapy, like, from a rap perspective, like, what does that actually look like for them? What's the process? What does it kind of look like?
Well, from within RAP, if they are part of RAP program and they are tied into, there's so many different types of therapy within Thompson. An individual, like probably what you see in your head, is just individual therapy. There's intensive in home, which is within the home, family centered if the whole family needs the treatment. And so there's lots of varieties of that, of what it could look like. And so the need is based on what you need. Every family is organic and individualized. And so there would be an assessment and fitting the needs of what that family, for that family. And I think one of the greatest things is we kind of even walk through that process with you. And so I know for myself, especially as a parent, that can be daunting to even go there and like to have your kid in such vulnerable, you feel vulnerable. And so I personal experience and with RAP tells me that Thompson does such a great job of providing safety within that and never allowing the kid to take the lead and therapy and or the parent to take the lead in what they're comfortable with. And like I said, it's all, each program can be organic to what that family needs.
Yeah, and that's such a good point that you brought that up, because you mentioned safety. that safety, the safe space. This is the first time for a lot of people. And that's really important, is that space is safe, and I don't want to, gloss over that. But there's another part of it too that, I think we were chatting offline about this, and there's the support too. So there's built-in support to a lot of the various programs, but specifically in the RAP program, there's like multiple kind of touch points with individuals. And so you not only are in a safe space, but you're also in a supported space where you're not alone, right?
Absolutely. So my job as a family support partner, if you come into RAP and you are a family within RAP, you're given a facilitator, someone who helps you kind of navigate this road of RAP and Thompson services. And but you also could have a family support partner like myself who comes alongside you, that generally does have the lived experience, and helps just you have a sounding board, helps you navigate tough situations. There's just such a variety of ways that position and that job comes alongside families. You also can have a support partner. So if you're have a teenager, I believe it's 14 and over, they could have a young adult who has lived an experience come alongside your teenager. And so those are some of the ways the RAP team comes alongside you. And then also, even going further into that, RAP really, one of the main parts of RAP is to help you develop your natural supports. And so we really touch on that quickly, and start really working towards families having those people around them that naturally they engage with daily become their natural supports to lean on. It's a relationship that is both sides. It's they're also giving to someone else.
I imagine that would be very important, because I was just about to ask you, like, what is that natural support? Like, and when you just like you said, it's like the supports you would naturally have. Maybe if you didn't have a RAP program, or once maybe you don't need a RAP program, which then leads me to my next question is, from a how does this typically work in terms of length and duration, and like, what does that look like for, the average, client of Thompson, maybe, who comes into the RAP program? What does that look like?
Yeah, well, it generally lasts between 9 and 12 months. Um,
Okay.
and so there's different stages of the RAP program. So when you're first brought into RAP, we get to know your family. We get to know your strengths, your needs, the culture of your family. All these things are so important, because the program is developed around the culture of your family. And so every family that I have looks completely different. And what we do with the family, how I even meet with the family, looks different, because it's around your culture. And so then we start setting, what is your vision? We call the vision the North Star. It's the vision of where you see your family in the future.
Mhm.
And so every goal or priority need is set towards that vision. And so we help you. I think we naturally do this in our heads. We have like a vision of what we want life to be. We have needs that need to be met often. I need a new car. I need a new place to live, whatever that is. But it's actually helping brainstorm and come up with ways to achieve those priority needs and head towards that North Star. So it's really just breaking it down.
Yeah, and I think that's super important, because that was going to be probably the next question I was going to ask you, would be like, somebody, maybe first timer, they're thinking about maybe, mental health therapy, treatment, those types of things. And like, will I be able to see results? What kind of results will I be able to see? Like, what will that look like? And so it's cool that the program actually is built in to show you and to work with you in identifying those goals, those targets that will help you to get to the ultimate objective, which is to see improvement, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, there's nothing more rewarding for I think the family and the team that's surrounding the family, wrapped around the family, to have a meeting, and the priority needs that were last month's, we've checked them off, and the needs have been met. And so that helps the family, like, wow, we really are moving in a positive way. And kind of keeps the flow going and keeps people excited and ready to like hit, okay, what are the needs now? And so yeah, it's such a great program. I'm really proud to work for it.
That's really helpful to kind of understand how that program works. One of the questions that I did have about about the program, as well as Thompson, and this would be for sure, I think, beneficial to a lot of people out there, is we know that there are a lot of there's a huge diversity in this world and in this community, and we know that there are some populations that have not been traditionally served in the way that maybe others have. So from a standpoint of mental health and addressing those needs, are there any supports in this program? And if so, what do they look like in terms of addressing the needs of traditionally underserved populations?
Yeah, when families come into to wrap, there are all types of families, but many are underserved populations, and there is a lot of hesitancy. You can tell at first. They've have lived experience that's sometimes very negative in the mental health or in this area. And so building that trust with their team is first, I think, probably the most important. And so that they see you as their ally and on the team with them. And then I know my colleagues, we work so hard for our families. We and providing services and knowing what's available out there to help a family. And so we in RAP, you have a saying, do for, do with, and cheer on. And so many times when a family comes into it, we start out doing some things for them. We find some services for them. As time goes on in the program, they have a need. We'll do it with them. And for some of them, that's the first time they've ever really gone out and done this for themselves and found services and found things that they need. And then by the time the program has ended, we're at the cheer on stage where
Okay.
we're hearing about their need and they've already fixed it. They've already come up with, and we're able to celebrate with them that they are able, with their natural supports and the people around them, to take care of the things that they need for their family. So there are stages to help with that, and yeah.
I love that. I really like how you kind of broke that down, because I think that, for a lot of people, maybe especially for those, if they identify with, maybe belong to some of those populations that have been underserved, like you mentioned, there's that hesitancy. We're not sure if this program is going to address those needs, those challenges. And from what it sounds like you're mentioning, it sounds like that's there, that's something that is addressed, that is accounted for, and the structure of this is like to meet those needs, and is to really to make sure that we're providing all of that deep level of resource that maybe has not been there, and especially early on, and as the program continues, we're teaching how to fish, proverbially speaking,
Absolutely.
so that we don't have to. And so those are the things that's kind of happening with that. So I think that's a fantastic. And am I taking the right understanding from that?
Absolutely. And even for me, with my lived experience with my kids, it has even taught me how, to speak up in meetings when it's concerning my family. It's that my voice needs to be heard. All of these things that I'm helping other people also helps me, because we all need to be able to do that. And so these underserved populations that they feel like they haven't had a voice a lot of times. And so to be able to help to do it with them for a while, and then to watch them take over and start to do it, it's really cool. I mean, it's been really cool for myself to feel like I've even gained that voice, and it's really awesome to watch other people do it as well.
Well, thank you, Sarah. I really appreciate you breaking that down, and I'm sure many people watching also will appreciate that. I guess the only other question I have for you is, is there, maybe who's the best fit for like the RAP program, and if there's any sort of, you know, criteria or things that will help you to bring people to the program. If you feel like you'd like to share, I'm sure you guys could use some more people to come in and join the program. So your floor is yours if you have
Awesome.
anything to share on that.
Yeah, that's great. I have many families and they all look so different. So I have families who the kids have some mental health challenges and they're living with their mom and dads and they have found Thompson and they were at a loss. They were struggling day to day with just keeping their kids in the home. And so they've reached out and we work with those families. We work with families who have adopted kids and the kids were very similar to me. They did this thing. They adopted these children and they bring them home and they're like, wow, this is bigger than I realized. And they've reached out. And we have families that are living with grandparents and the grandparents are raising the children and or maybe there's multi generations in a home. So if the fit is generally when people come to us, they're at a state of crisis of some sort where they need help. They are at they're at the end of the rope, and they need a life vest. And so RAP can step in and like start, as we've said before, breaking down and helping them. And so yeah, I mean, we definitely have new families come in every day, and so I think the best way, I don't know if this is part of the question, but the best way to find RAP is to call Thompson and just speak to that, and just you'll get put with us, or even online. I believe there's a look up Thompson and RAP program, and you can fill out a form there as well.
For sure, absolutely, Sarah. That's exactly it. Head to Thompson CFF, it's thompson.org, and then we'll be able to help you out with that. So that's a fantastic answer. Thank you very much. We thank you for your time. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing your lived experience with us and for breaking down RAP for us. Thank you so much, and we'll chat soon. Okay.
Thanks, Robert.